Yeah.
Surgery. I'd like to take his face off. Yes.
I'd like to take his face off. I hear this line in my head probably like once ever. Like if I'm thinking about movies from the 90s or movies in general, I have that. And that scene doesn't even like play all the way through because there's like, he says, I want to take his face off. But then the other guy's like, you want to take his face off? And then he's like, I'd like to take his face off. And you're like, this is just everything
like,
for me. Everything.
They must say it a good like 8 to 10 times in the span of like 15 seconds. It's pretty good.
It's pretty fantastic. Well, if you've just stumbled your way across here, then we're very sorry as per usual. Tonight we are talking about Face Off. This is a timeless Nicolas Cage, John Travolta classic from the 90s. Hi, I'm Katie. This is Nat.
And I'm Natalie.
And we are the VHS Club. And you got to let us know whether or not you've seen this one. And I think we have slightly different perspectives on this one because I adore this movie. And that's like, this one wasn't very good. So,
no.
Correction.
I think John Woo, the director of the movie, was fantastic. I love his fight scene choreography, which I just told Katie earlier that I've been calling it woography. Love that. Because it's iconic. You know it's John Woo. I love it. But there's so many things in this movie, Katie, that I'm just like, okay, well, that's not how that actually works. But
so if you
there
have
are
never,
a lot of explosions.
you've never seen this one, here, allow me to take the synopsis this week,
Yes.
Nat, because this is this is, as Nat put it, my Roman Empire. So here I am with my Roman Empire moment. So this brilliant 90s movie, the plot of this one is that John Travolta is a incredible, amazing FBI man. And at the very beginning of the movie, which is like a very tragic way to open a movie, he and his son are riding on the merry-go-round carousel at like an outside park, and Nicolas Cage just straight up murders his son in an attempt to kill John Travolta. And you immediately identify that these two are like opposite sides of the coin. Nicolas Cage is like the criminal. I can't even realistically, without laughing, call him a criminal mastermind, but let's pretend that he is a quote unquote criminal mastermind.
He's psychotic.
And he's psychotic, which is like prime Nicolas Cage. So whether or not you like Nicolas Cage,
this was probably his best acting in his whole life was in this movie.
Yeah, because Nicolas Cage is this, and it's just great. He just goes off the rails.
Nick Cage crazy eye. Yeah. He does it so much and so well in this movie. It's like it was like, it seems almost like in other movies he tries to control his like Nick Cage crazy, but in this one they're just like no, go all in.
Just go all in. So he's a lunatic, but he loves his brother. And John Travolta is a FBI agent who is now like so completely obsessed with catching Nicolas Cage's character.
A total vendetta.
Yeah, total vendetta. And so you have these two famous actors who are playing these like very strong roles where they are at war with each other. And in a tragic, crazy Woo style fight with explosions, Nicolas Cage's character is somehow killed but not killed. He's still alive, and so he's in a coma. And the surgeons on the FBI's team roster, I don't know.
By
They
the way,
find some surgeons.
It's a very secretive branch of the FBI. This team, this department is so secret that nobody in the FBI even knows they exist.
Yes, but they are surgeon masterminds, and they come up with this genius idea where they're like, "Hey, John Travolta, we know that you just want your life back, and we should just straight up murder this guy, but instead we're going to keep him alive, and we're going to take his face off and we're gonna put it on your face, and somehow your body will turn into magically Nicolas Cage's body, and we're gonna explain things by saying we put a voice box that we've synthesized in so that you look and sound just like Nicolas Cage.
An extremely fragile voice box.
Yeah,
if you sneeze too hard can break. But if you get in a massive prison brawl like 3 times, you'll be fine.
And if you really need for it not to work, it's gonna work. It's just gonna work. But yeah, so John Travolta becomes Nicolas Cage and doesn't tell his wife or anyone else. No one knows except for a select few people. And Nicolas Cage but really John Travolta goes back to prison to try to get this important information that he needs to get. And
from his equally criminal, psychotic brother.
Exactly. And big surprise moment, everyone. So are you holding on to your potatoes / popcorn? Because big surprise moment here. Nicolas Cage, who now has no face. He's faceless. He awakens out of the coma. Somehow magically awakens out of the coma, and not only is he just fine, he's like straight up fine, but he's able to just murder everyone in the room, but not until he's got them to put John Travolta's face on his flawlessly and body. Yeah, magically the body's just aligned, even though their body types are totally different. But you know what?
Well, they do say in the movie that they're going to do a whole ton of plastic surgery.
Oh, okay, on the body too.
They switched John Travolta's, like they make a joke that, so John Travolta was super popular in the 70s and 80s, and then this is sort of his sort of resurgence into Hollywood is these 90s movies, these action movies.
In these movies.
Yeah, he's older.
Yeah.
So they even make fun of in this movie, they're like, oh, we'll fix that beer gut you have and make it more look like Castor Troy's, you know? So that's pretty savage. They also make fun of his chin.
They did, and I am ashamed to say so. So I see Paul and Dan and Kimberly are hanging out with us in the live studio chat. You 3 will have to fact check this episode because I was so into watching the movie that I did not jot down near enough facts, but I did catch this one, that John Travolta, unsurprisingly, was actually pretty offended when they made that like line in the movie that says that he has like an ugly chin,
a ridiculous
chin. And he I guess the director,
it's what made him famous.
I know. It's true. I don't know why he was upset, but he was apparently upset about it. And the director told him that like had to like reassure him that it was just how Nicolas Cage's character would act. so that fact I did take. But so the movie, which is well over 2 hours. So you got to really, you got to buckle in and really, really take stock of this one. But it unfolds, and it's kind of, I will ask this of you, Nat, even though you thought this movie was absolutely preposterous. So for some reason, like, I just laughed my way through that description because it's completely ridiculous. But there's this moment where inside John Travolta, who looks like Nicolas Cage, is in jail, and he realizes that everyone that knows that he is John Travolta is dead. And he is like screwed. He's completely screwed. Yeah. And there's a moment where I'm just like, wow, that would have been terrifying. Like there's a moment of just like, I somehow just accepted all of the nonsense that led up to it. And I was so like with his character in that moment. I was like, what are we
It's
gonna
crazy.
do, John Travolta?
I mean,
We've
if
got
you
to get out
think
of here.
about it,
Yeah.
so the character John Travolta, it's Agent Archer,
Hmm.
Sean Archer, and
Sean
then
Archer, yeah.
Castor Troy is Nick Cage.
Yeah.
So they've switched bodies and lives at this point. Like Castor's supposed to be in jail, but it's actually Archer, and
Yep.
Castor is now pretending to be
An
FBI Agent
FBI
Archer.
agent. Yeah.
He magically knows where this super secret that nobody in the FBI knows where it is office is.
Hmm.
He integrates with all of his coworkers that he's like how this bad guy slash like
Criminal
homegrown
mastermind.
terrorist
Criminal
knows who any of
mastermind.
these people are.
Yeah.
He knows where this agent lives.
Hmm.
He knows the guy's wife's name, daughter's name. He hits on the daughter, but
He
looks like her
He does
father.
think the daughter's name is
So
Janie.
creepy.
He thinks her name is Janie, but then she's got a pillow in her room mat that says
Yes.
Jamie, and he corrects
Yeah.
himself. Yeah, that moment was kind of insane.
I did like the moments where it's like he tells Archer, real Archer, that I'm gonna sleep with your wife. Well, he doesn't say sleep with his wife. He's like, I'm gonna fuck your wife. And they do, it implies that they have slept together.
Yeah.
Her and this guy that she should like his whole personality takes a 180 and she's
And-
like, oh, this is okay.
She does call. Well, no, you got to back up because you're missing important story moments. She writes in her diary, Nat, that he finds and reads that she's, she's really having a hard time. She's having a hard time,
Yes.
Nat. They're having a dry spell.
Well,
She just wants him to be normal again, and he's so caught up in catching Castor. So
she also does say, like, so when he technically Castor is presumed dead, he comes home and he's like, baby, it's over. Like, I'm going to be home more. I'm not going to go on any of the crazy missions anymore. And she's like, good, you could do all the fucking therapy that you very obviously need. And so, I mean, I guess maybe we could argue that when he starts becoming very creepy, misogynistic, overly sexualized, she's like, maybe he just had a nervous breakdown. Like, I don't know. It's very creepy. But mind you, Archer does this thing. So they create these sort of physical things that the character does. So his family recognizes, like, it's a small little quirk where he runs his fingers across the front of, like, top to bottom, like up and down, his family's face in a
loving
endearing
kind of way, in an endearing, creepy, very terrifying kind of way.
Disgusting and creepy, but anyways, I'm like, oh, don't touch. Like, if he had done that when we were dating, it'd be like, red flag, hun, red flag, we're done. Like, I'm gonna stay alive. You are not my husband. Anyways, but so there's like little things like that, so that she can kind of recognize. So she does recognize throughout the course of the movie that something is wrong. But, like, could you imagine that you slept with this guy you thought was your husband, but really is just actually some criminal, insane psychopath that technically raped you? That's disturbing.
Yeah, everyone in this movie is going to need a lot of therapy.
And at the end of the movie, when he licks the daughter's face, he's like, I'm kidnapping her and I'm gonna take her, and implies he's gonna have sex with her, but he's still in her father's body. I'm like, all the therapy. Like, I don't want to make it out of that scenario. I'm done.
I'm good. I'm just gonna lay down here. Yeah.
There's some very creepy moments. I think the one moment in this movie that shocked me the most. Okay, so Archer, who is in prison, looks like Castor, breaks out of this super secret maximum security prison that is in the middle of an ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Somehow magically makes it back to LA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Hell of a swimmer, Ned. He's a hell of a swimmer.
Oh yeah. And he ends up realizing, like, he tries to go home, but obviously that's not going to work. And he tries to tell his wife, like, hey, like, check my blood type versus his blood type, because I have a rare blood type, and there's no way that guy is my blood type. So she does. And then she ends up believing him. But he realizes he needs help to get this guy caught and out of his life because he still is an FBI agent.
Mhm.
So he goes to this guy's known associates, like other criminal friends, and he integrates with them. And that's where we get that great line where his friends roofie him, by
Yeah.
the way. Like, okay. Anyways,
They
I guess
they
they're criminals.
offer him drugs. He's just too much
No,
of
no, no.
a
They cracked it into his whiskey glass without telling him that they roofied him. Which, sure. So then I'm like, well, they know it's not him. Maybe the real caster got in touch with them. No, no, no. It wasn't that genius. I'm just like, they just roofied their friend. And so then the real caster in the Archer skin suit comes, and he's blowing up the place with all these FBI agents, which I'm like, since when does the FBI have this protocol where it's like, we're just gonna gun down everybody in this building, including women and children? Like, there's innocent lives in there where the FBI, we don't care. Shoot them all up. Like, wow. And this one of the main bad guys, this big bald guy, Hassler, gets shot saving who I thought was his girlfriend, who is the ex-girlfriend of Castor and the mother of Castor's young son.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, complicated, but come with me on this journey.
Yeah.
He gets shot through the neck, and you can see it's like a through and through. It's brutal. He's covering with his hand, and he tells her, get the kid out of here, get safe, go to your sister's or whatever. And she's about to walk away, and he grabs her and he full on kisses her on the mouth, and then she runs away. Fast forward a little bit when they have this blowout fight scene in a church at a funeral, and she's like, I'm here to avenge my brother.
Yeah, that's her. It was her brother. They
Her
say
brother?
that,
They French kid?
They say that like a number of times that it's her brother.
Do they?
Did you? I unobservant.
I only noticed when she said, I'm avenging my brother's death. And I'm like, wait. And I rewound it. And I'm like, nope, they French kissed.
Yeah. I heard the brother thing all the way through, but was also very disturbed by the like way too inappropriate kiss. Like, it was weird. It was
also,
weird.
she looks Latino and he is very Aryan looking. I mean, it's possible, but anyway, I just anyway, wild.
I don't even have like a good defense. So if you're hanging out in our live studio audience, let us know what you whether or not you rewatched this one or watched it for the first time, and whether or not you liked it. Paul says that you would think that Archer's wife might have had a telltale sign during sex that he wasn't her husband. You would think, given that like it's not like Castor's character was even kind of normal. Like he is entirely a sociopath. So you would think that like sex with your normal like white bread husband of 20 whatever years would be very different than sex with a sociopath. But maybe not. I don't like, who knows? I wouldn't know. I don't think I've had sex with a sociopath yet. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it was an interesting moment there. And yeah, I think it. And Doc says at the time that this movie was made, one of the biggest social fears was getting roofied. so it was a thing to slip in there. I felt it's funny. Like, I watched that scene and I don't disagree that I think he was roofied. I don't disagree with it, but it felt to me like they were all taking drugs together. Sort of. It was like a drug moment. They just assumed that he would want. Yeah. Yeah.
So they didn't tell him they were going to drug him.
Yeah, and it kind of also felt like a little bit of a test too. Like it was this kind of like,
but it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. But I guess it felt like it initially to me. I did. Can we talk for a second about the fact that you have these two men who have traded lives. It's like trading spaces, everyone. So they've traded lives, and you have Nicolas Cage, who like seems to just be like, at first he's like having fun screwing over and being like crazy with Archer's family, but then he's just like straight up into it. He's like, no, I like this. I'm just going to take all of this for myself.
Yeah, I did actually kind of find it funny. So his boss dies. So Archer's boss, the real FBI boss, dies of. He was dying of a heart attack, and then Castor, being a psychopath, just decided
expedites it. Yeah.
Yeah, makes it happen a little quicker. Which I'm like, okay, well, you could have waited like maybe 2 more minutes. The guy was obviously having a heart attack, and nobody was calling an ambulance because you two were alone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you could have just whatever. So he kills them, and so they're going to the funeral, and they're getting in the car. So now the wife already knows that this isn't really Archer, and so she sends the daughter away with the very plausible excuse, because the daughter, since the death of her younger brother, has been having behavioral problems. She's in high school.
Yeah.
I say that like, well, obviously, well, anybody would have a hard time.
Yeah.
She happens to be in high school. And so the mother's like, oh, well, she stole $50 out of my purse and God knows where she is. So I'm like, that's very plausible.
Yeah.
Likely also, I assumed incorrectly that the mother was like, get the hell out of here. Here's $50.
Yeah.
Go to your aunt in like Wisconsin and just get the fuck out of Dodge.
Well,
that didn't happen.
Real Archer tells her to get the daughter out of there.
But that's not what happened, because apparently Castor was very easily able to find the daughter and then drag her into this gun shootout at the funeral. But what I found funny was, as Castor is getting into the car to go to the funeral, the wife is like, oh, she's not here. Obviously, she just ran off. Who knows where she is? And he's like, actually genuinely pissed.
He's very offended
that his family isn't like this perfect vanilla family.
Because he's a sociopath.
Yes, he's crazy. He's very crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, it was funny because even when he gets in a fight with his wife, he's just like, oh, this is like shades of our real marriage. It's like, which also, him getting in that fight with his wife was all in his own head. He thought she had done something to slight him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she did, but he didn't know that. He had no basis of being upset in that situation, so it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's so funny when it comes to this particular movie. Like, last week we did Con Air, which, it's funny, rewatching Con Air, I was like, well, this is ridiculous. This could never like happen. Let's just make fun of Con Air. And for whatever reason, rewatching this one, I'm like aware that it's ridiculous, but I feel like for whatever reason, my suspension of disbelief is like different in this one than it was. Yeah, where it's like, I accept that it's ridiculous, but the in-between moments of like acting and character, I think the emotional responses of the characters, I was like playing off how I would react in those kinds of situations. Like, I was putting myself into John Travolta's character when he was like stuck in this body that wasn't his and he was trapped. And then I was putting myself into like the wife's character, where I was just like, oh my God, like what would I do if this kind of situation, which it would never happen because of all of the like science and reasons why it would never happen. But it, like, I feel like the character development was way stronger in this movie, and that carried it through. That even though the entire thing was completely insane,
plot.
There was a plot to it where it's fun. The only part that I found to be like, whoa, okay, we've like crossed a line. You would think it would be in like the let's remove their faces and trade their face. I would have been like, I don't know. I was fine with that. Fine with the faces.
A small laser cut around the circumference of a face, and then with like
pull it off.
A suction cup vacuum, they just suck the face off. Not possible, by the way. There's tissue and tendons and ligaments.
No, Nat, that's fine. I was fine with that.
Somebody's face off, but
I was fine with that. My suspension of disbelief. I was like, okay, not possible, but I'm in. I'm in for this being the premise of the movie. And then I was even in for like all the stuff that you just talked about that was impossible. Like, how does he know where he lives? How, like, all of that stuff. I was like, all right, fine. You know, like maybe because they've been chasing each other for so long, they have like some knowledge of whatever, of where, you know, whatever. I believed in that. But then we get all the way to the end of the movie, like literally the last couple of minutes of the movie. So as Nat said, we find out in like the later half of the movie that Nicolas Cage's character, Castor, has a son like who's like,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know, like 8, let's say, with his girlfriend, and he doesn't even know he has a son because she discloses it to who she thinks is Castor, but is actually
But it's
Archer.
actually Archer.
And he reacts badly, but that aside. But so we get all the way to the very end. She ends up like sacrificing herself for who she thinks is Castor. So
Is
that like
Castor.
so that whole moment was kind of
Because,
heartbreaking because you're like,
yeah,
wow, okay, she like
she'd
killed
say,
herself for the wrong guy. Like for who
yeah.
like she just didn't
She
even
killed
understand what
herself
was
for Archer
happening.
because Archer, on behalf of Castor, apologized for all of the trauma that she's lived
Yeah,
through.
but she
And
thought it
he
was
did
yeah.
try. He
He did
did try
try.
real hard to get her out of town. She's like, the kid's out of town. I'm going to avenge the brother that I French kiss all the time. And she didn't want to leave. So she shows up at the gunfight,
Yeah. So she's just like
which is
so I was
heartbreaking. So
that
she gets
that part I
killed
didn't
to save
even
him. I felt so bad for that.
I felt really bad for that. But that part again, I was like, believable. Fine. I'm in. She comes back. She wants to be involved. Fine. But we get all the way to the very, very end. And she has this like comment well before she dies where she says like, if anything happens, like raise our child, not in this lifestyle, whatever. And you're like, well, that's going to come back to bite us. So we get all the way to the very end of the movie. And John Travolta is now
My
somehow,
first thought
somehow,
when she's like, don't raise our son in this. I'm like, would I adopt a son of a sociopath and psychopath? Probably not, because that shit could be genetic. If he is in a traumatic childhood environment, check. I'm like, no, foster care. And I would just check in on him all the time.
yeah. So not only does somehow, even though there was only one surgical team that could do this very weird extreme
Yeah,
surgery,
all
and
the
we were
technology
all
was
the technology
saved,
was
even though that whole place
destroyed.
got blown up.
Yeah, Nicolas
Sure.
Cage lit everything on fire when he did it. John Travolta somehow gets back into his own body and face again and comes home, and everyone's like so excited to see him. And then he's like, also,
By the
I've
way,
randomly adopted this child that is like, and it's and
without checking in with his poor
without
fucking
checking
wife?
in with his wife. And
divorce
so
papers. Like, I'm
here
sorry.
are my issues with it. One, like he didn't check in with her. 2, this child is the child of like the worst possible people. And C, like this is like literally
He
like
does not have nurture or nature on his side.
and they're literally just like, and then if we take a moment to like think about this child, the only reason that they're adopting him is because his dad killed their son who was about the same age, and they're literally just replacing their like they're like, we already
Again,
have a room ready for you, take him to his
Archer
room, Jamie.
therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy is the theme of this movie and the
Yeah.
seemingly lack of access to it because
It was the 90s.
oh my goodness. So at the beginning of the movie, his son gets killed. Horrible. Of course he's traumatized by it. He seems to have a several year vendetta that he has a whole department dedicated to within the FBI. His personal, I refuse to do therapy vendetta. Okay, so that's a problem. He has an occasional very short fuse because he is emotionally unintelligent by every possible means. Again, needs therapy, short fuse. His poor wife at this point, finally the guy of the person of his vendetta is caught and quasi dead because they say, oh, he's nothing but a turnip. He's not on a ventilator, so he's clearly not brain dead. Hi, he wasn't brain. Of course he woke up. He was never brain dead at this point because if he was brain dead, he would have been on a ventilator to keep the body alive. Anyways, and yeah, so he needs a lot of therapy, and really, this movie could have. I mean, it wouldn't have been made if he went to therapy, but.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I love how his office too, like every one of his coworkers, he comes in when it's Castor pretending to be Archer, and he's like, "Look at me, I'm a badass like FBI agent." He's all like, like showboating, and I'm like, that's very much the opposite of Archer because they showed a very similar thing, like, "Sir, you're a hero," and he's like, these 50 following people have died in the like capture of this guy. He's all pissed about it. So he doesn't want to be a hero.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, nobody noticed that he wasn't him. Except for his wife, finally, but he had to actually physically tell her.
He had to have multiple, and
It's
she
not
took a
me.
blood test. Like he gave her like enough of a memory that she should have been able to identify. And she was still like,
I mean, it would
no.
have been pretty hard to be like, oh, I believe you.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, this is the face of the guy that killed my son. I'm like, totally believe that you're my real husband.
True.
I
Very
would not
true.
have. Also, divorce. Like, I would have like literally been like, here are the divorce papers, please sign these.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
we're all done. We're done here.
Oh my goodness.
Doc finds it hilarious that we who love Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and Star Wars and MCU get really bent out of shape when Face Off has ridiculously fake shit in it. It's true. It's true.
It's
Well,
true,
we're not
yeah.
judging those ones yet, Doc. So there with more to come. And this is. So Doc coming at us with Healthline and WebMD says many experts consider sociopathy more of an environmental construct than a genetic one. It results from an interruption in personality development by abuse or trauma in childhood. I mean, so we really like Doc. We have all of
He
it
could
here.
be a
Like
psychopath and a sociopath.
yeah, we have
That's the thing.
just all of
Can be
it.
both. But
So
he
not
has
genetic
both
in this case, but he
environment
also has
and
bad
his
genes.
genetics.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of both.
It's possible. I mean, we don't have a clear diagnosis for him. I would say he was more of a psychopath because he wasn't. His brother was probably a sociopath, and he was like Pollux was probably a sociopath, and
Mm-hmm.
Castor was likely a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, whatever. I mean, I feel bad for the kid. He's a kid, but still, I would have. Like, you don't just like cold turkey bring a child home. Like, you can't just replace your dead kid without asking anybody. Oh.
Yeah, see, I would have come home as John Travolta looking all dapper and whatever else, and the kid would have been over at Doc's house because Doc seems to be cool with taking the kid in, and I would have burned my whole house to the ground because now every bad guy knows where my house is and what my code is and all of it, and we would have moved like it wouldn't have been like a homecoming in this kind of way. It would have been like now we live in witness protection because there's still a lot of bad guys that likely know not only what my address is, but he also he himself pretending to be Castor gave out like all of his security information.
That was pretty wild. Yeah, they would definitely probably have been in witness protection. But all this to say, I love the John Woo fight scene choreography.
So good.
And can we talk about the boat chase?
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, after there's this big shootout at the boss's funeral, they hop into these boats and like very Miami Vice style, like going down this body of water. I don't know where they are. I guess somewhere
Doesn't matter. Doesn't even
California, LA. And they're going in these speedboats and they're bumping into each other, and then they start shooting up each other's boats, and I'm like, oh god, how many bullets does it take to blow up a speedboat? Apparently hundreds. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that part was pretty epic.
I do love whenever there were explosions in this movie, there were also fireworks. Like there was like the glittery fireworks. It was very appealing to the eye.
See, you're so funny. You were all in for the John Woo explosions, and I was all in for the face off. That was my favorite moment. But then also there's a moment at the very beginning of the film where Nicolas Cage is walking and he's got this like long trench coat and the wind like whips it up slow-mo style behind him, and I'm like, yep.
That's also
I'm in.
Classic 90s.
Yeah,
like, shot.
totally amazing. And then
have somebody in
later,
a trench coat and it flips out behind
flips
them.
up, but nothing does it as well. Like that scene is like burned in my mind again. Roman Empire burned in my mind. And then also later in the movie, there's like a white dove in the church that just like slow-mo flies by, and you're like, yep, we're full circle now. With like
it was a
the
very sort of
significance.
classic 90s action sequence to have like this hyper Catholic imagery to signify shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
So you'd see like some old like nonna lighting a candle and like a white dove and like an altar boy choir singing in the background, and then you like all the guns coming out.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet style, right?
Yes.
It brought me Romeo and
Yeah.
Juliet vibes. I was like,
Very,
oh, gunfight going down.
yeah.
There's a
It's
dove. Get
very
ready.
iconic.
Yeah, it was. So those were probably my favorite moments of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. It holds up for me. I can't defend it or explain
I
even why, but I really
I love how
thoroughly enjoy this
crazy.
movie. I just love how crazy it is.
I love how crazy Nick Cage goes in this. Like they really took the straitjacket off and they're just like, go for it, kid.
Go for it.
Like,
Go for it.
and I do love how John Travolta plays Nick Cage's
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
That which is pretty spectacular from him too.
Yeah, they actually
Um,
like
yeah,
and unsurprisingly they spent time like researching each other's, facial cues and different things to try to get, try to figure out how they were going to play each other, which wouldn't have been easy. Like both of them have like a very specific like stage presence and
yes.
personalities that shine through. So like it would have, I guess maybe that makes it slightly easier, I guess, than someone that's like a little bit more of a character actor, but yeah, I think they both did a really remarkable job with it, and they like made it so that it was like fun, but again, I can't think of another word other than believable, even though that's not the right word, but they were believable as each other.
I
Um,
have a random question. Referring to the movie, was it The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent
oh, I love that
that
movie.
Nick Cage came out with
Yeah,
last
it's
year,
not in
2
our
years ago?
movie era, but really
It's
just watch
not,
it. It's so
but
good.
you should watch it. It's so Nick Cage makes fun of himself in
Himself,
this
yeah.
movie.
Hmm.
And in it, this guy collects all this Nick Cage movie memorabilia, and the two
Hmm.
gold guns are in it. So as soon as I saw the gold guns come out in this, I'm like, oh, right, this is the movie they're from that Pedro
Yay!
Pascal was collecting them from. Like, anyways. But
Yeah,
it
so
made me giggle, and it wasn't meant to be a funny moment when you see his two, like, he puts his holster on, and after he plants the bomb at the beginning of the movie, and he goes to meet his brother at the airstrip on their private to go to their private jet to, I guess, get away, and he puts his holster on. You see his two gold guns, and he dressed like complete Euro trash. I have to say, at the beginning of the movie, they're on this private jet. They're going to fly away. They planted a bomb in LA as a demonstration for a future sale of $10 million or something or other, the bomb technology.
mhm.
And the flight attendant on the plane is an undercover FBI agent. Can I just say, worst assignment ever? Like, so Nick Cage, Castor
Oh.
Troy, gets on this plane with his creepy little brother,
Mhm.
and and the first thing he says is he forces her to sit on his lap, and he
Mhm.
talks about eating peaches, which I
Mhm.
would be like, best case scenario, I'm off the plane in 2 seconds and filing a harassment report. What I probably would have done was a sort of Lorena Bobbitt situation.
Yeah.
Probably.
Dude,
And
all
then
like
he sticks his tongue out and says, would you like the privilege of sucking on my tongue?
yeah.
No, dude, when he then also, there's a bit of a chase scene with this little helicopter and all these cars chasing the private jet down the runway. And he ends up shooting this poor FBI agent. And I probably would have been like, thank God I don't have to suck this guy's tongue. Like, boom. So creepy. He played creepy very good in this
He
movie.
did. He played creepy really, really well. As you're talking, all I can see, and we'll have to find the link to post it for people. But there is a TikTok account Nat and I've been sharing videos back and forth with, and there's just a guy that like will play other people's TikTok like clips and questions and such, and he just runs up with a giant physical red flag, and that's like I feel like
Excuse
we
me, sir.
excuse me, sir, and he like waves his flag.
You're a red flag for the
Yeah.
following reason.
And so as Nat's talking, I'm like, I feel like we could do a really fun version of this movie where you just have like the red flag guy like across the bottom in like key moments to do this. It's so too funny.
Yeah,
Um,
I have to say Nick Cage takes what I think was supposed to be was slightly crazy, like lunatic, charming hyper masculinity and
mhm.
try and make it into this charming, sexy thing that all these girls. I'm like, no, It just comes across real bad. And it did then too. It hasn't aged any differently than it
Nope.
played the first time. Like, it's just so makes your skin crawl. You want
Yeah.
to take a bleach shower.
Yeah. He's a
No.
type. He's a type. Paul says, Paul is fact checking for us tonight. So huge thank
Yay.
you to Paul. He's been sharing all kinds of awesome facts. So here's a few of them. Nicolas Cage didn't want to see the grotesque face makeup. So John Woo hid all of the reflective surfaces on set. It's just brilliant. Nicolas Cage and John Travolta spent 2 weeks together before filming to learn how to play each other. They decided on specific gestures and vocal cadences for each character that could be mimicked. And then I saw one that came further back. One sec. Let me find it.
I was wondering, I'm like, what's with the
Mhm.
accent that John Travolta kind of has and kind of doesn't have throughout this movie?
John
And why is it
Travolta,
kind of southern?
he
And isn't he from
has
Jersey? Like,
no, but he
what was with that slightly southern twang he had in this
he
movie?
does have, maybe it's not a southern twang, but John Travolta has a particular, like, I think he's definitely playing it more in this
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
for that specific
yeah.
reason. But he does have like a
He doesn't sound
specific,
like Danny Zuko from Greece, you know? Like,
he's got like a, yeah, I guess Grease is maybe the exception to it, but he does have, or maybe he just plays a lot of characters that have this, but he has like a particular twang to his voice that comes out stronger in some movies than in others. So, and yeah, John
I
Travolta,
guess it was something that Cage could maybe emulate easily.
yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
John Travolta asked the writers if they were making fun of him with the ridiculous chin line. They explained that Castor was such a narcissist that he would hate having anyone else's face. So thanks to Paul for for fact checking, and hi to George, who is painting his studio and hanging out with us here. If you ever want to hang out with us, you can do that most Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. We hang out and record these live, so you can always hang out in our live studio audience or listen whenever you want. Go ahead, Nat, you read.
I was going to say that one of the co-screenwriters got the idea for Face Off because one of his friends had a hand gliding accident and they had to take most of the skin off his face.
They had to take his face off.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as seamless as this. I mean, I really wish we had the technology, like the medical advancement.
I don't.
Well, not the face off, but the fact that they could just like have a laser spit out a perfect ear and then put it on somebody's body and have no scars and no surgical recovery time. That would be fantastic.
I know it's like it's only going to be a
What could
couple of
done
days
for veterans and victims of violence and war. Like, imagine the amazing uses. I mean, of course, people would use it for evil because that's just the world we live in, as this movie demonstrates. But I mean, like, it would be such a great advancement in medical technology if we were actually at that place where these things were possible. Yeah. And can we shout out the doctor was our Canadian national treasure, Colm Fiore.
Yeah,
we love him. He played, I guess, sort of like a mad scientist doctor in this because he invented this crazy technology.
Which another guy was able to do. Great. Yeah.
Of course, somebody else was just like, we totally. Maybe it was uploaded to the I don't know, the main system. I have no idea.
I feel like this movie
this information somewhere they must have.
I feel like this movie could have had this other like really horrifying ending where they just like came back and were like, well, now you just look like this for forever. Thanks for your service. Just like that. I mean, yeah.
Dr. Archer, his wife, at the end of the movie, when they have both Castor and Archer in each other's bodies being loaded up into the ambulance to go for this surgery, she kisses her husband and wishes him luck for his surgery, even though he's still in Castor's body. And I'm like, really? Would you? I would not. Like, he could have waited for that kiss. What was that? What we needed right now? No. Ugh. I'm like, could you imagine her headspace?
No, she's just delirious.
That poor woman.
Yeah.
Poor Dr. Archer. Talk about like underutilized and underappreciated by every man in her life. Like, she's a doctor. She's badass. She figures it out and calls it in and manages to convince the whole freaking FBI that this is the actual situation. Because
Mhm.
they could have been like, you know what, let's just toss them all in jail, end of it.
Yeah.
Instead, we'll perform this like multi-million-dollar surgery again.
Again. A
Like,
second time. Yeah.
but
Oh
yeah,
my
it's
gosh. Well, Doc
she's
is saying that
badass.
we do have this technology now. Well, you'll have to let us know more about it, Doc. We're not as privy to government secrets as you are. Oh my gosh. Well, we have come to that time. So if you're still hanging out with us in the studio audience and you have deep feelings about how many faces off you would give this movie, you would definitely let us know.
Okay.
Spoiler, I build all of the shows in advance. So it's like only my rating, because now it was like, I don't know about this one. And I was like, I'm all in. We're rating this one. So yeah, kind of skewed results. Oh no, I shook myself. Hang on. There we go.
Okay, Paul just shared the best fun fact about this movie.
You're
Some of the
welcome.
prisoners are actual ex-convicts recruited by John Woo because he wanted real people. That's so cool. I mean, like, hey, you know what? Convicts have a
Ooh,
hard
it's
time
true.
in rehabilitation
It's true.
getting good work, which then not being able to get work can cause recidivism, right? So good for John Woo hiring people.
Good for John Woo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
John Woo's a
of a
very fun
director.
director.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there are quite a few. There are a few. If you say action movie, gunfights, explosions, you basically think John Woo and Michael Bay are
Hmm.
like the first two to come to mind.
Yeah. And neither of those directed this movie or the last one we watched, which is kind of surprising. Maybe Michael Bay took all of his like Michael Bayness from these movies.
Who knows? I
Yeah.
don't know Michael Bay's timeline at this point when this movie came out. I don't know where he was at. Bad Boys? Bad Boys came out around probably the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Bad Boys is
So he
90s.
was he was blowing shit up in LA.
Yeah.
Car chases, helicopter chasing
True.
cars. Yeah, he was doing his damn thing.
Yeah. Doc gives it 3 creepy mask faces.
Oh yeah. Those
Give
are those are those are
Those
skinless
are
faces.
skinless devil
Those are
faces.
faces with their faces off.
Yeah, that's well done. Well done. Doc understood the assignment. Paul is still sharing some fun facts with us. The films were shot consecutively from the summer of 1996 to spring 1997. And you are referencing
A
Con
Con Air.
Air and Face Off, which I think like is just the embodiment of Nicolas Cage. Like Nick Cage is just like, I'm going to
Yeah.
do as many movies as is humanly possible, no matter what quality they are, because I just want to be
Yeah, he's the
as
American
wealthy as
Michael
possible.
Caine. I love it. I live for this.
George is also at 3. You're all disappointing me here because you know the answer is 5.
It's definitely a 3 for me.
Oh, we lied
Also,
about
I
this one
feel
then.
this like crossed over with also Broken Arrow, which is another
Oh, I
action
didn't like Broken Arrow.
heist movie.
All right, here
I
we
liked it
go.
because it
We'll
had
take some
Christian
out.
Slater in it, Katie.
We'll take. All
It
right,
had
we'll
John
go to
Travolta
3.
and Christian Slater.
It's true. We'll have to do that one because Christian Slater's in it, and we did agree we would do more Christian Slater. Paul as well. All right, you guys, you win.
We've all shamed Katie from her love of this
Hmm.
movie into 3 taters.
Hmm. Hmm. It's very true.
It's
It's
okay,
very true.
Katie. You know what? I have to confess. I remember when this movie came out, and Katie has always loved this movie.
I have. I've always loved this
She's
one.
always genuinely loved this movie. I'm surprised she could even possibly allow us to shame her into 3 taters. Like,
Oh, it's
for
fine.
Katie, it's 5 for
It's fine.
sure.
It's 5. It's 5 potatoes for me. Yeah. And it's so funny when I didn't have a ton of time this week. I don't often have a ton of time. So this was when I was definitely gonna have to split into like watching in blocks. And so I like pulled it up on Amazon and I was like, oh, more than 2 hours. Okay.
Wait, Katie.
And then I was like, nope, it's Face Off. I'm going to do it. I'm going to feel really upset if I don't get to go all the way through. So I did it. I'm really proud of myself. I got all the way through it and it was worth it. I don't know. Yeah, it's a
I
fun.
have to say, it was highly entertaining. There were moments of extremely good acting
Yeah.
and moments of that. And it, obviously, like, I had some emotional responses to some of the things that happened in the movie. You know, it really did spark that.
Yeah.
And
You're
it
right,
was just
Nat.
really
I'm adding
entertaining.
I'm
Yeah,
adding in
put your
another
potatoes
potato.
back.
I'm putting my potato back. I'm putting one larger potato like right here in between. Three and a giant potato just for
Yes,
me.
exactly.
Oh no, I gotta
Yeah,
move myself out of the way to really appreciate the potato here. There we go. There we go.
make it
Now we're
even.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah,
Well,
it was
this
a fun
is
watch. It was pretty wild. I didn't, again, similar to Con Air, there were moments where I probably shouldn't have laughed out loud, but I did.
yeah, I did too.
And
I
I
did the same.
appreciate that. A good giggle when you're watching a movie is always worth it.
It's true. And we didn't talk about this, and I don't have like a lot of thoughts on this, but I thought the guy that played Pollux was actually fantastic as well. Like
He is. I can't remember what he's from off the top of my head, but I feel like he's played like a Russian spy before. He's played a mad scientist. And anyways, well, he was, I guess, a mad scientist in this as well. But
he was like yeah, I don't know. Yeah, again, he was believable. That's my word of the night. This movie is just entirely believable, you guys. This yeah, I don't know. He like really did a nice job of embodying the kind of like troubled younger brother that that Kester needed to protect and take care of
yeah.
and be there for.
Oh, and I wanted to mention the daughter, Dominique Swain, played Lolita.
Oh,
That was
wow,
her claim
yeah.
to fame.
I haven't
That's
seen
because
that
I was like, I
in
recognize
forever.
her, and then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, she's Lolita, of course.
Oh, all
And
right.
as
Oh,
I
go
had
ahead.
mentioned to Katie, the Danny Masterson, there's a little bit of a Scientology connection in this movie. There's a couple of Scientologists in it. Um, and Danny Masterson made an appearance and
Yeah, I refuse to
possibly
acknowledge
to,
that he's in this movie.
but it was very prophetic to his real life. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're gonna end on a couple of these last amazing facts. So one, the production occurred. So this movie production occurred exactly 20 years after Saturday Night Fever, and on the same studio. It was considered as a sort of tribute to the first success of John Travolta. Awesome fact, Paul. Really pulling it out tonight. And Doc says that Broken Arrow actually gets us a trifecta nat. It's Travolta, Slater, and Woo. So we'll have to add that to the list, but
Well,
not
there we go.
not next time. So
No.
if you are joining us live and you're not watching this on replay, we're a week in front of American Thanksgiving. So Nat, this
Yes.
doesn't affect her, but it affects me. So we're taking next Thursday off for Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all of our tater tots who celebrate. And then the following week, we are already committed because we have an extra week. We're going to go all in on the 3-ish hour, more than 3. I don't remember how many, more than 2-hour mini series extravaganza that is the BBC Pride and Prejudice. So if you want
The
to,
real one.
if you want to get real romantic and just like
So
all
all
the
those
feels,
2005 girlies can just suck it.
yeah. If you're a 2005 girly, we are not here for you.
Sorry, you're wrong.
Sorry, you're wrong. We're
I
going to
mean,
be
Miss
talking
Hayden
about
is
that.
great, and I love Keira Knightley. She does a very, very good impression of Jennifer Eel in her version of Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was the one time that I thought Keira Knightley wasn't doing Keira Knightley. Like I really felt like she was imitating the actress Jennifer Eel who did it in the
Mm-hmm.
80s,
In the one we're going to watch.
as opposed to being herself. So that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of weird to me. Anyway, I just didn't like it, girls.
Yeah. So we're going to
guys,
do
and everybody in
OG, the real, the real Pride and Prejudice. Not next week, but the week after, and then we're going to be into holiday movies. So we're going to be all in for 90s and 80s holiday movies, which in my book,
Yes,
so
let us know what your favorite holiday movies are.
in that era.
Mine's Die Hard. You all know that already.
Yeah, so I was gonna say my top 3 from that, like if we're talking about that grouping, are probably Die Hard, Home Alone, and Christmas Vacation are probably my 3. Maybe as a fourth, a Christmas Story. Christmas Story is in there. I don't watch it as often as I do the other ones. Christmas Vacation and Home Alone are like very iconic childhood and teenage movies for me, and then Die Hard we picked up when we were I picked up when I was a teenager, and we've run all the way through.
Yeah,
So we should probably say again,
I
if you're
also
a
love the original Muppets Christmas movie, A Muppet's
oh, I do
Christmas.
like the Muppets Christmas. Yeah, the Muppets
I
Christmas.
also really like Elf.
I
What's
love Elf,
happening?
but I think
Like, a
Elf
long list of
is
Christmas movies I really like.
out of era. No, I think it might be still within. I think it's early 2000s. We'll have to look that
I
one up.
don't know.
Well, we'll need to do so. So a couple of big announcements, actually. Announcements. So first off, we have a website, which we should have mentioned at the beginning of this episode, but we didn't. So you're still hanging out with us or listening, we hope. So swing on over and we'll be updating all of these video descriptions and show notes, but you can find us at thevhsclubpod.com. And there on site, exciting things. You can find all of the audio only episodes easily. You can find all of the video episodes super easily. You can leave us a review. Just saying, you could leave us a review. And you can read other people's reviews. There's just one from Maury. So all of you studio audience people are obviously not real friends. So,
They didn't know yet.
so you can leave us a review. And I'm really excited about this feature. So we'll have to test it out. I haven't tried it out yet, but you can leave a voicemail, which I'm really excited to play your voicemails. So leave us a voicemail and let us know your top 3, top 5, I don't know, your top Christmas movies, your top holiday movies, so that we make sure we have the best possible list ready for you.
We also might put up, because Katie suggested that maybe when I watch the movie, I write notes just so I remember writing, and the visual and the physical writing helps me remember it without having to rewatch it. So I have these stream of consciousness notes that I write while watching the movie. And we might post those as well.
We're going to post those. Yeah, we're going to post all of
Wait
those.
till you read my notes about this one.
They
are brother and sister. Yeah. I totally missed it.
We're gonna post all of those. Doc suggested Love Actually, which that's a strong contender. That one is an incredible movie.
I have to say, I'm still mad at Alan Rickman for cheating on Emma Thompson. Okay, I'm still not over it. I've seen the movie like 1.5 times because I was like, I can't watch him do it again because I love him.
That one. I've seen that one a lot.
It's such a good movie.
It's a really good one. That's a good one.
And the scene where Laura Linney is bawling her eyes out to the Beatles' Blackbird. It's such an emotional movie. It's so beautiful and very emotional.
Doc needs your brain notes. Doc needs all of Nat's brain notes. They're coming at you, Doc, on the website, thevhsclubpod.com. Make sure that you swing on over there. We're having a lot of fun getting a bunch of cool stuff updated and ready to go. Gonna roll right into next year. We're approaching our 1-year anniversary, so we'll be doing it in style. It should be fun.
Yay!
Yay! Well, thanks for hanging out. If you made it all the way to the end, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. We drop new episodes every Friday. You can hang out with us on YouTube, either live on most Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, or you can catch the replays whenever works for you, or you can find us on our new website, the VHS Club Pod, at thevhsclubpod.com. You can email us at thevhsclubpod@gmail.com. And let us know what your favorite movies are, what movies we should be reviewing next. We may have to do, I know it's true, we might have to do 2 a week to fit in all the Christmas movies. We're not above that. We don't have plans. We're all in. We're all in for all the Christmas movies. I know, because there's a couple shorter ones too. Like I love me the original Grinch cartoon. Right?
I knew you were going to say it. As soon as you said original, I'm like, Grinch. It's the best.
Original Grinch cartoon.
My heart is usually the 2 sizes too small part. And every once in a while I decorate, I elf kind of decorate for Christmas. Like Will Ferrell takes over my body and I decorate the house for Christmas. And then my brother is very concerned about my mental health. So I have to try and find a happy medium to like nothing to elf. So
there's some
we'll
good
see,
ones.
guys. We'll see what this year does for us.
There's some good ones. Well, send us all of your ideas. Share your favorite Christmas movie memories. We'd love to hear that, and we appreciate all of you hanging out all the way to the end. And we love that you're all Die Hard fans. There's no people complaining about Die Hard here, so everyone's good. We're good to keep you as our audience.
Our people.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out, Nat, and thanks for putting up everyone with our face off movie night review. We will see you not next week, but the following week. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.